what it is to be someone who has beat cancer 5 times.
Yeah, even hearing that number and said out loud is interesting for me because being a 5-time cancer survivor and next week I start tackling number 6 is it's pretty powerful. It has changed my life in so many ways. Never would expected this journey to happen. When I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 2002, I thought it was going to be one and done. A year later, that same group told me that my cancer had come back, and this is after I had gone through radiation ablation treatment, taking iodine 131, which is the same radioactive material that came out of Chernobyl when it melted down. So it can't be good for you. Though it did handle the thyroid cancer, but a year later they called me in. This was Christmas Eve, and they called me in. They're like, "Bill, your cancer's back. You need to start treatment once the holidays are over." And at that point, I thought, "There's no way my cancer's back because I don't have a thyroid to have cancer." At that point, I went and got a second opinion, and that's when my entire cancer journey got flipped on its head, and I decided to own my own journey versus anybody else. So I go to MD Anderson. They tell me that, no, your thyroid cancer is not back, and we're not sure you should have been blasted with that much radiation anyway. But we're sure thankful you came because if you've been blasted with another round of radiation, your life would be even very different. As it turns out, most likely in 2008, when I was diagnosed with stage 3 lymphoma, most likely that was a result of the radiation treatment. We'll never know for sure. But by then, I was really owning my journey. I was owning it. And so in 2008, stage 3 lymphoma, I have a kind that's incurable. They prescribed this pretty standard treatment for it, which is pretty ugly. And I told the team at MD Anderson, no, no what? I said, no, I'm not going to do this treatment. And they're like, why? You can see for those that are on YouTube, I've got a big head of hair and I was in sales at the time and that treatment meant I was going to lose my hair. So I told them that. I said, I can't lose my hair. I'm in sales. I travel for a living and I make my money selling, and I don't want to go into a meeting and them say, what's wrong with you? Because that shifts the conversation to me versus the customer. And if you're going to be in sales, you need the conversation to be about the customer. They're like, okay. They took it as a challenge. I almost missed my flight from Houston back here to St. Pete, and they prescribed to me. They said, Bill, there's a trial. You'll be patient number 23. You've never heard this word before. Remember, this is 2008.
Right.
It's called immunotherapy. I'm like, okay. Like, we think that this might work for this cancer if we give you this immunotherapy drug, that it could teach your body how to kill the cancer and you won't lose your hair. I said, okay, what happens if it doesn't work? And they go, then you'll lose your hair. So it worked. And in 2008, I was one of the early benefactors of immunotherapy, which kept me in remission for almost 6 years.
Well,
And the cancer came back.
I want to go tangential here for just a minute because like you, I also took charge. And that is one of my big messages is take charge of your health care. Where did you find that courage from? With the white coat authority I was raised with and everything, I've always been fascinated. Where did it come from for me to say no to certain treatments?
I think it came out of frustration. It also came out of fear, and it also just how I'm wired in life. Always been the go-getter, type A, take charge, set goals, and it just didn't pass the sniff test. And I'm like, wow, this is about money, not about me. I better find somebody that cares about me, not about the money. MD Anderson's the perfect place for that kind of situation. Same with Mayo, where I am now, and it's about the patient first. And so I just needed to put myself in that position and find the right team to do it. And I'm thankful I did, because I am 100% confident that if I hadn't got a second opinion in 2002, and now we're bumping into 2003, I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you. I would have been blasted with ridiculous levels of radiation.
You said something that was fascinating to me is about taking charge of your own healthcare. And that's what the book is about, by the way. That's why I say it works for whether you have cancer or autoimmune or anything else. One of the things that I was nodding my head through the whole book, but there's one place that I want to start with. And a lot of the book, by the way, is about communicating. And I know Bill mentioned about a team, and definitely want to encourage all of you listening. Make sure that you have a team that A, listens to you, and B, talks to each other.
Mm.
That was critical when I finally found a team, and now it's my team's up to 5 people, 5 medical professionals. They are all willing to talk to each other to make sure that everything is combined. They all play well together, okay? To have a healthy outcome. I do wanna backtrack and go tangential here. My audience, Bill, knows I go tangential all the time. I run down rabbit holes. I'm going to just read this out of the book. Pause and then be deliberate as to who you share the news with. Wow. I just nodded my head along. What's your story behind that wise advice?
It is great advice, and thankfully, I listened to myself and followed it, but when you're given a diagnosis of any serious health issue, you have to take a big deep breath so that you can get your own emotions in order. You know what it's like. You start having a hard time thinking. The stress of it is enormous, and so you need to harness your own emotions before you really tell too many people. Because what happens if you post it on social media, all of a sudden now you're having to comfort everybody else. And I saw this even in 2008 with the lymphoma when my neighbors knew and somebody would come over and I'd open the door and they would start crying. I'm like,
Mm,
now I'm comforting you. And seriously, I'm the one who's, trying not to die here. I should be crying, not you. And so if you post it on social media, it creates a monumental task of trying to manage other people's emotion while you're managing yours, let alone the fact that perhaps I don't want my work to know about it because it could affect my job. It could affect promotions. Certain people may have to know about it. In addition, that wide communication can impact your life in other ways, and you may start hearing from people you don't want to hear from.